She was a forest ranger, a sous chef in Paris, a physical theater specialist around the world. I was just talking about, and you're a Fulbright winner. Anyway, welcome, Megan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Your background is insane. You've done so many different, really interesting things. No, how did all of this combine to have you write this novel, which was one of the most anticipated books of the year?
So I've been in theater. I teach at a theater conservatory in Manhattan, and I've had a theater company for years. And I love to travel, so I've been combining these things for a while. I started traveling, giving theater workshops all over the world, particularly in China. I worked at a theater conservatory there for like 6 weeks out of the year for a number of years. And when my first child was born, I realized that getting to rehearsals was super difficult, and traveling for 6 weeks out of the year was not going to work. So I started doing long form writing, and my second child was born right in the middle of the process. And so now I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old and a book, which is great.
Yay! So give everybody a better description of the book than I did.
Okay, so it's a historical fiction mystery set in a reimagined Elizabethan England, and the main character is a 14-year-old girl who is jailed for stealing bread, and her punishment is to become a sin eater. Now, this is a person who hears deathbed confessions and then eats ritual foods associated with the sin. He can't speak. But this curse, she manages to turn it into an unexpected source of power. She uncovers a series of murders.
So you could have written a zillion different books. How did you come up with this idea and all the subplots? Like, how much research did you have to do? And why did you pick this topic?
Okay, so it's probably because I'm a serious nerd, a history nerd. I love so sin eaters are a real thing, but full disclosure, I invented a ton. So they really existed in the UK, and I think the last one died about 100 years ago. And it was a social pariah who would eat a piece of bread on someone's coffin and take their sins onto their own soul. Okay, so when I read this, like my mind, I couldn't believe it. It's so fascinating, and for a nerd like me, I'm like, oh, it's like partly Judeo-Christian, but it's also pagan, and why have we never heard of this when it's like such a fascinating custom? So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do something long form, I want to write a mystery, and I want a sin eater to be at the heart of it, and I'm gonna make her a young woman, and I'm gonna make it a coming of age story, and that's where it came from.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to write? What was your process like?
So 2.5 years. I did a ton of research along the way. Again, I totally enjoyed that. I was looking at Tudor cookbooks for all the foods that I would associate with the sins. I was looking at just wonderful history of Elizabethan England, and there's so much fascinating stuff that was happening at that time.
Have you read any, even like bits and pieces of it to your kids, maybe your older ones, or
No,
not quite yet? A little too dark?
Not yet. They've seen the cover, which and they're excited about. They've seen my name on it. My older son can read, so he can see that it's my name, which is
well, that's all they care about, right?
Yeah.
And how are you managing with the kids at home through this ordeal or crisis, or how's it going?
So we got in the car and we drove to North Carolina from Brooklyn, where my in-laws are, and they are the most supportive, wonderful people. So now we've got 4 adults and 2 kids and 2 dogs and a house instead of a 4th floor walk up with 2 bedrooms. So we are, like, really, in the scheme of things, we are the luckiest people. And so we're doing, a lot of crafts. Me personally, I've been kind of using my theater background to kind of reach out and connect with people. I'm gonna show you. I have puppets. I've been making little puppet shows about my process to kind of share with readers, because my events are canceled. So I've been kind of using theater in new ways.
Wow. Can you do like an at-home? I mean, some of my kids love to act. Maybe you can do some at-home.
Absolutely.
acting classes or something?
Well, certainly my theater conservatory classes are the conservatories going online. And I've been connecting with my colleagues, theater colleagues in China and South Korea, who've, for longer than we have been having classes online. And so the theater community is really reaching out to get hints and ideas and kind of hear what it's been like, from the trenches.
Wow. Well, if you go live with an acting class, like send me a little DM and I'll grab whatever kids around and throw them in front of the phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having survived the book process and now that you got to the end of the road, and I'm sorry that your journey has ended in such a crazy time, is it something you'd want to do again? Would you want to write another book?
Absolutely. And I'm already starting to research. My next book is going to be based on a play that I wrote about female spies in the Civil War, and how we deal with, from across the political divide, whether we can ever find, common ground.
That sounds timely in a way.
Yeah.
I mean,
some
some of these themes,
yeah.
Some of these themes definitely relate. Wait, can you tell me 2 seconds about being a sous chef in Paris and also being a forest ranger and how those like entered into your life?
Absolutely. So the sous chef in Paris, I was in graduate school. I did my theater MFA equivalent. In France, it's called a diplôme, in Paris. And so, I needed a job. And one of the places I got a job was working in a kitchen. I started as a waiter, and then I asked if I could start working in the kitchen. And it was like a fusion French English restaurant that was introducing the French to brunch, which at that time was not yet a thing. And you think about like, oh my God, what an opportunity. So yeah. I ate a lot of pancakes and brownies and things. And, it was a lot of fun. It could be its own sitcom. And then the forest ranger, when I was in college, I grew up in California. I love the outdoors. I did a lot of backpacking. And so I got a job. I wanted to work for the Forest Service, and I got a job as a backcountry ranger at 19 years old for the summer. And I was backpacking for 10 days at a time in the Olympic Peninsula, in the Olympic National Park. And I was out there alone for 10 days at a time, wow. Search and rescue and cleaning trails and all kinds of stuff, at some point I'll write a book about that.
I was going to say, if you run out of ideas, jot down a few notes for a memoir about that, because that sounds really interesting. I would love to read that. So, not that you're out of ideas. You're like this brilliant historical novelist and everything, but, just in your spare time. Anyway, well, it was so nice meeting you. And your book is Sin Eater, so everybody who's interested should go buy it. And thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye, Megan.